losing my head.
You stole it! You stole it! You got it! You got it! Fire me! I'm already fired! I'm already fired! He's hot! He's spicy! He's green! Batista, I hope you're watching, because if you mess with me, I'm going to beat you up, just like I'm going to beat up Ponzi over here.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your host, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome, fans, to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, coming to you here live, but Sunday night. Sunday,
Big Daddy Don
Slinger Speedway. Sunday, April 26, 2009, WWE Backlash just going off the air. And we're going to talk about the show and give you our opinions on that pay-per-view from WWE, where we saw 3 new major champions. But first, Meathead, let's tell the fans what else we have this week, because it's an action-packed show. We've also got an exclusive interview coming up in just a few minutes with one half of LAX, TNA's Hernandez, who's going to be joining us right here on the show, and he's got a lot of interesting things to say about TNA.
It's a really big show.
On top of that, we're going to have Bill and Doug Uncut. We've got Beat the Meat, the return of Beat the Meat. Today in wrestling history, a major announcement on some more interviews coming to PWR TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 the next few weeks. We're going to go in-depth and talk about Scott Steiner. Big Papa
Pump. Holla if you hear him.
And the news desk as well. But first, let's kick it off by telling you how you can join the show. We are totally interactive and streaming live at ESPNMilwaukee.com and PWRshow.com. Again, that's PWRshow.com. You can join us in the chatmosphere, the forum, or the shout box on just about every page of the site. You can also call us here locally in southeastern Wisconsin at 276-ESPN. That's 276-3776. Or all over the world at 1-800-990-3776. 1-800-990-ESPN. Meathead, 3 new champions crowned at WWE Backlash in Rhode Island. We're on Sunday night as a special treat, as a special wrap-up to WWE Backlash. The opening contest was Jack Swagger versus Christian for the ECW title. Christian, your new ECW champion, and I guess that means Vince McMahon loves him now.
He loves him now, kind of like you love the Backstreet Boys. Christian.
Tell me why.
Tell me why. Very well played. Again, that doesn't make any sense. Christian didn't cry in the back, oh, give me a title. No, he didn't. It's good for business to have Christian on programming every week. It's also good for business for Christian now to have the ECW championship. Swagger will be upset, about not having his title, but, Christian's your new ECW champion.
From there, we see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat one-on-one with Chris Jericho. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in his 3rd match in a month after going years without wrestling. Well, in this one, he would not be able to defeat his opponent, Chris Jericho, as he tapped out to the walls of Jericho. But Meathead, still very fun seeing Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in the ring. I've always been a mark for Steamboat.
I heard you say off air, I don't know if it was for the wrap-up or whatever it was, but did you say that Ricky the Dragon let out his inner dragon? Because that's a find.
He unleashed the dragon. He awoke the sleeping giant, the sleeping dragon.
That's what I get told when I get home. Honey, it's time to play. And then out comes the dragon.
And then she calls the Humane Society, as she should, to get that thing put back in the cage.
Inappropriate.
Speaking of inappropriate, Santino Marella tells Beth Phoenix he fakes it just after that matchup.
Whatever.
I don't know what it is, but he fakes it, whatever that is.
That stuff belongs on Raw or SmackDown or ECW or whatever show they're going to be on.
Well, there would be more later. And speaking of belonging on Raw, SmackDown, or ECW, or maybe even Superstars, the next matchup, which, quite frankly, I'm sorry, I don't care about at all. It was Kane versus CM Punk. Kane, the victor in that matchup. CM Punk, obviously the holder of the Money in the Bank title opportunity. But Kane, the winner,
remember this
claimed
happened
it
last
as a bit of grievance from WrestleMania.
This happened last year. CM Punk won the Money in the Bank and started jobbing out right away. I don't get it.
Neither do a lot of people. And remember, we want to hear what you guys thought of WWE Backlash. You can join us on the phone lines. The number 800-990-ESPN or 276-ESPN. From there, we see Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy in an I Quit match. This one had high spots all over the place. It also saw the big spot that almost wasn't to be at the end of the match as Jeff Hardy tied his brother up to a table with rope and duct tape and then teased a swanton off the top of the ladder, which prompted his brother Matt to say, I quit, I'm sorry, our father is sick at home, I apologize, I love you, and I quit. Jeff Hardy doesn't care, wins the match, still executes the swanton through the table that the fans were chanting for throughout the entire match pretty much, and wins that matchup.
It sounds kind of weird, though. Why would Matt Hardy pull a Shawn Michaels from a previous year and say, I love you, it's okay, blah, blah? It doesn't make any sense.
Randy Orton then talks to us from the backstage area and teases that Batista may not be the best man for Triple H to be trusting at this point. Lots of rumors out there that Batista is going to go heel. Many reasons why that probably won't happen, specifically Shawn Michaels being out until about July, taking a little bit of time off. They need a big face on Raw to play this game, if you will. But the promos continued because the great Khali Kiss Cam was next.
Oh, no.
Santina Marella has to kiss the great Khali.
Or Santina?
Santina, I said.
Okay. I'm just making sure for myself.
Santina professes her love for good old JR.
And she wants to get on it slobber knocker?
No. She says she is his little slobber knocker. Well, Beth Phoenix comes out, wants the Miss WrestleMania crown. Great Khali pushes her around a little. Then she gets pinned by Santina. She's then got to kiss JR, but then Khali's chasing after Santina, and there's a wardrobe malfunction, and one of the puppies is out. This should have been on WWE.com. I mean, I don't pay $40 to see this malarkey, if you will.
No Mercy, 2007.
This was actually Backlash 2009 we're talking about here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
No, it makes me think of a pizza eating contest between MVP and Matt Hardy.
The one I forgot about till you mentioned it last week, and we were there live.
That's what I'm talking about.
One half of the main event was Shane McMahon, Batista, and Triple H teaming up against the team of Legacy, including Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr. If anyone from Legacy won that match, they would become the new WWE champion. Well, that would be Randy Orton. Randy Orton, the new WWE champion, after Triple H gets distracted by Batista's potential use of a chair outside the ring. That distraction led to Randy Orton executing the RKO, which then led to a 2 count. Up comes Triple H, but not all the way.
What about the most vicious move in professional wrestling today?
It's more vicious than the leg drop, I understand.
Oof.
It was the kick to the head by Randy Orton. Then 1, 2, 3, Randy Orton. The age of Orton is back, as he is the new WWE champion, and Triple H taken out on a stretcher.
Yeah, Triple H, he'll be back inside of 2 weeks because, he's got kryptonite.
Wasn't there a song about him?
Yeah. He's just living 3 doors down.
The main event was Edge versus John Cena. It was a last man standing match for the World Heavyweight Championship. A decent match, good effort, with all kinds of spots I can't say I would have expected to see in this matchup. Firstly, Cena with the FU, which I'm still calling it that, off the top rope and down to the canvas by Edge. Doesn't quite get a 10 count there. Then, because that wasn't good enough, it's off the table, the broadcast table, into the first 3 rows of obviously planted fans, which looked great on TV, by the way, folks. Good spot. That wasn't enough either. Several spears by Edge. They take it up to the stage. A chair gets involved. We see a concerto, and just when Cena's going for the finisher again on Edge, out walks the Big Show, grabs Cena, one-handed chokeslam off the stage into a searchlight, a rigged searchlight, obviously, but a searchlight which explodes. John Cena lay practically dead in that searchlight, and the 10-count. Edge, your new World Heavyweight Champion, and a match meathead that delivered. They delivered both of those main events over the span of about 85 minutes, giving time to wrestling matches on this pay-per-view, which is not something WWE typically does, but they did very well.
It also ran past the obligatory 45. If you're in the Central, that'd be 9:45. Normally pay-per-views end.
Which is the 3rd pay-per-view in a row they went heavy
over.
On.
Yeah, they went over. Also, it kind of, I guess, you kind of knew what was going to happen on the main event once Randy Orton won the belt, because that meant a belt for Raw. That means there needs to be a belt on SmackDown. Now the title situation taken care of.
Seemingly so. Overall, Backlash. We want to hear your thoughts on it, ladies and gentlemen. The number 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or 1-800-990-3776. Let's go to line one. We've got Jamie from Rochester, New York. Jamie, you are live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Oh, how you doing, guys?
Hey, what's up, Jamie? What do you got?
Backlash, it was surprising, really, because people thought that CM Punk was supposed to cash it in. But
Jamie, I gotta call you on that. I'm not saying that you're the one that's saying that, but this whole CM Punk cashing in his Money in the Bank right away, that's just talk. They're gonna try to take this Money in the Bank. You got to milk it for as much as you can. Remember, they use the Money in the Bank as kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card when something may not happen.
Who's in
right?
jail?
Like a get-out-of-jail-free card when something may not happen the way they want it to happen. For example, Kennedy getting hurt, he lost it to Edge cashing it in. It's kind of an excuse to get away. So CM Punk is going to hold on to this probably May, June, maybe July, and then finally cash it in. They're going to cash it in, randomly on a pay-per-view or maybe a Raw or a SmackDown or, hell, an episode of Superstars. Who knows?
Yeah, but who would expect Big Show to come out? I didn't expect that, really.
I did, actually, because he's still got issues with Edge. So Edge and Big Show will be a one-on-one match.
I can't say I expected it, but I wasn't surprised when I saw it. But what I was excited about is you knew somebody was taking a pretty nasty bump. And I noticed those searchlights earlier on and said, that's peculiar. They haven't used those before, but didn't think anything of it because,
that's what I said.
It was rigged, but I don't know how rigged because Cena took a nasty bump into that thing, and obviously with the pyrotechnics in the glass, he had a shard. He had a shard laying on him, for God's sake.
But he went and grabbed it and just laid on top of himself.
Jamie, your overall thoughts of the pay-per-view. Did you watch Lockdown last week?
Yeah.
Better wrestling contest or better wrestling pay-per-view, was it Lockdown or Backlash?
Oh, Lockdown was okay. It wasn't bad. Trust me, it was okay. But Backlash was just more surprising than what I thought it was.
Okay, interesting
but do you
perspective.
think it's because they have the bar so low on WWE pay-per-views right now that you're surprised by anything that they put any kind of effort into?
Yeah, it's like when they give you messy cards, you always get something out of it. To me, that's my thing.
And then TNA, I guess, on the other hand, gives you cards that you really should be excited about and mess them up.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I was talking to some fans earlier today, and they asked me, they said, are you excited about the card for Backlash? And I said, hell, I don't even know what the card is. I mean, I really didn't, and I didn't realize it till that point. I didn't know what the card was.
Yeah,
I mean,
they built it too late.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you who was in the main event. I think they only had, 2 or 3 weeks to build this one, so it was an express service, if you will. Backlash, which is usually where they mop up WrestleMania. I would agree with your assessment. There were some surprising things that happened on the show. I was surprised at Orton actually winning. I was surprised at how good the Edge-Cena main event was. Just from a spots perspective, they did stuff. Look at how many times those stairs were used. They did stuff we haven't seen from either of them before. Jamie, thank you for calling here to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Fans, you can call us. We want to hear what you thought about WWE Backlash, which was live on pay-per-view tonight. The number, 276-ESPN here in southeastern Wisconsin, 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN, which is 1-800-990-3776. Meathead, we are live at PWRshow.com as well. The chatmosphere is growing up. We're going to have some comments in a few minutes from the PWR forum about what people thought live throughout the pay-per-view. But the question that's out there is, was this better than Backlash? And I'm sure you're going to get different answers from different people all over the country. But from this fan's point of view, Lockdown overall, Lockdown was better. And cheaper.
Well, obviously cheaper, and we know how you are.
I'm frugal.
Frugal is not the word. And we don't have enough show
I'm frugal.
Or beeps in the bank.
Don't you dare sit there and accuse me of being cheap. I'm fiscally responsible. I listen to our president. He wants us to make sacrifices and such. Lockdown, I thought was a better overall show. Now, WWE did a very smart thing here. They sent the fans home generally happy, I think, with that oh crap moment at the end. And now they also did something very smart. What's up with Cena? He's actually going to be filming another movie soon, so he might be taking some time off here. I'm not saying that's fact, but that could be the case. But people are going to tune in to Raw tomorrow night to see what the heck happened and where we go from here.
And, there's been mention in the chat-osphere that even though Big Show's on Raw, I still believe, the man they call Meathead, I still believe Show and Edge will have a match.
Could be the case. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We've still got a lot of show left for you, including Beat the Meat. We're going to go to Bill and Doug Uncut just at the top of the hour. We've also got the news desk. We're going to go in-depth about Scott Steiner and talk about some recent comments we made about him and how I might be retracting some of those comments. But when we come back, right here on the program, one half of LAX, Supermex Hernandez. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, here live Sunday with the Backlash Review. Backlash is so backlash.
Well, I tell you what, you keep looking at me like that, you're going to get a backlash, too.
Speaking of backlash, we have a very special guest with us right now. He is one half of LAX, the big tag team in TNA, Hernandez. Hernandez, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing over there?
Hey, brother, what's happening? Supermax is in the house on the show, Damien.
We're very good today because the weather, it's like 80 degrees here in Milwaukee for some reason.
Really?
Today is summer. I mean, we don't have a season. Today is the day.
Hernandez, thank you for joining us and spending a little time with us. We're going to talk about TNA and talk about another show that you actually participated in this past weekend out on the West Coast. But first, let's talk about TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. We obviously have seen over the course of the last few weeks LAX prominently featured in a bunch of matches, most recently a couple of weeks ago at Lockdown, where you were in that three-way match. Didn't quite come out on top of that, but man, did you throw Chris Sabin around like a rag doll? Is that fun? This has got to be fun.
Well, this, unfortunately, it was for the New Japan Junior tag titles, which is for, pro wrestlers under 220 pounds. And,
what were you doing with going for those tag titles, bro?
LAX, we go sneaking to get any title we can get.
Okay.
But
I mean, it's like asking Team 3D to do it.
Yeah.
But,
what?
What's been very popular, what made you, I think, as popular as you are as of late especially, is your agility. Being the size that you are, as you just alluded to, and just the moves that we see on a regular basis, not only out of Homicide but out of yourself, just absolutely amazing that a man of your size can move so well. Have you always been that agile? Did you play sports in high school or college and got that way? How did it all happen?
Yeah, well, actually, I don't want to say what year I graduated high school. I don't want to date myself, but I still have the record for the highest vertical in my high school.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually how I got a scholarship for football, because I wasn't allowed, my parents didn't let me play because they don't want me to get hurt. So I'm the biggest kid playing basketball. And the football coaches saw me doing some pretty, weird dunks at 6 foot, tall. So they decided to, invest a scholarship in me.
Let's talk about injuries. Obviously, wrestling's a high-risk sport. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, definitely.
Your most serious injury that you've gotten in your career?
Most serious is I've never got more than an ankle sprain or pulled muscle until I started pro wrestling.
Yeah.
The worst one I've gotten two. One was I have a small bone next to your ankle. I got that shattered. I have a plate and 7 screws in my left ankle.
Wow. Still to this day.
And then one of those, yes, this happened in '98 when I first started training. And then the other one was me doing that dive, like as you was talking about, is got too much adrenaline pumped up and did a dive in Japan and overshot everybody and landed in the crowd and hit the guardrail. And I needed 40 stitches on my shin just to close it up.
And the fans weren't alerted that they're going to need to catch you, right? Nobody told them, hey, look out, here comes Supermax.
They probably were crying. Japan, people that are not as big.
Yeah. As we're talking about the fact that, you have this great appeal, I was wondering, what do you think is what pulls people into, LAX? I was thinking to myself, right before I got here, I said, his look, it's not that big, puffy steroid look. He looks like a vato from down the street. He looks like one of my boys.
Well, we talked about this earlier. The way I lift weights is a little bit different. It's more like I would like to say, I just say like a prison routine.
Ooh, there you go.
So I get like a firefighter vest that they use for training. It's an 80-pound backpack, and I do I try to do 10 sets of 10 of dips, pull-ups, push-ups, and Hindi squats in less than 20 minutes every day.
Yeah,
every day.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Because I do the 12-ounce curls, and we ain't talking about weight.
Well, enough of those to get you there too.
Having 80 pounds on you is like probably having about an eighth grade kid on you.
Yeah.
While you're working out. So.
Well, we've got obviously big news as well is coming up this week on the Pro Wrestling Report television show. Hernandez, you're going to be our special guest there as well. We've got a video interview that we're going to be airing, talking about a lot of things, including your thoughts on Milwaukee women.
And trust me, we've got a lot of Milwaukee women that you'll like. It's the cheese. It's the cheese.
When you don't, when you're trying not to use weights because you're always traveling, you got to find different ways to work out. And as you allude to, you have a slightly bigger population of bigger ladies.
What do you think Crusher lives on?
That's what I got when watching the old AWA, seeing the Crusher talk about sending those 250-pound girls around when he was dancing. Like, oh my!
Yeah, all the dollies.
That interview will be on this week's edition of PWR TV, available at PWRshow.com Wednesday and on Time Warner Cable right after WWE SmackDown Friday night. Hernandez, if you had to define or tell us what your best or your biggest moment that you witnessed, not that you were a part of, but that you witnessed in professional wrestling, what would it be? The moment that sticks with you most as a fan.
As a fan, anytime I see The Undertaker do his big dive over the top on WrestleMania, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking when you're doing yours? I mean, you're thinking, man, I just thinking I hope I land on somebody.
Mine's just trying to destroy that guy on the bottom.
And that's how it comes across. Believe you me. No worries there.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, your biggest moment in professional wrestling.
First time we won the tag titles in TNA.
Well, was that the feud that you had going on with was it Team 3D where you guys?
No, that was AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
Styles and Daniels, that's right.
And we were still part of the NWA TNA, and we were the first Latinos ever to win the tag belts.
I believe that's when you guys started doing the separate entrance. Am I right? That's where you guys kind of really started to blow up there.
Yeah, we were a little bit more militant back then.
Yeah.
And obviously fan favorites now, and I think that goes a long way. Now, we talked, and we'll talk about on the video interview coming up this week about the rise of TNA and the rating successes and the successes that they've experienced over the course of the last couple of years. But what we'd like to do now is play a game, Hernandez. It's called Word Association. I mention, it's always fun. I mention an event or a person, and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
Wow, okay.
We're going to start with good old DW, Don West.
That's a heart attack waiting to happen.
The deal of the day, huh?
He is awesome. How does he not have a busted blood vessel the way he just goes over the top of the screen? He's awesome. I mean, wow.
He's passionate, that's for sure.
More love to him, man.
Yeah, and you know what? Your love has been seen on screen because, it used to be on a pay-per-view where you guys were in that opening match. You hit that nice big spot, roll off, big high five with DW right at the announce table.
Yep.
Oh, man, that got me jacked. I would stand watching that stuff. Be it at the house, be it at the show.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett.
That's good. The reason why I have a job, I mean, he put TNA on his back, him and his father back in the day in 2002, and made this dream become a reality for a lot of guys that were trying to, be on television in the United States.
Chris Sabin. When you're not throwing him around like a rag doll.
Man, he's a very good talent. He actually, and he's still really young, so, you haven't seen the best from him yet, I believe.
Homicide.
That's my brother. He's most underrated wrestling mind, in my opinion, that we have in our whole program.
Hulk Hogan.
What can I say? I mean, he's the man that actually reason why I don't have to unload trucks and have to wrestle,
Yeah. Let's talk about some mainstream things now. Have you heard Susan Boyle? Have you heard of her?
Who's that?
I didn't think you would have. She's everybody 35 million views on YouTube because I guess she was on Britain's Got Talent and was able to sing. And she's
I've never heard of her either.
Have you not really?
Damien.
This is the biggest news story over the last 2 weeks. Is Susan Boyle.
It's on the internet. What's the internet?
All right, American Idol.
American Idol. My family likes the show. I guess I don't.
They don't push you to try out for American Idol?
It was. Unless I could be like that William Hung guy.
That might be a second career if you're tired of taking bumps, man. You can go out and do national anthems.
I've never seen an actual episode of American Idol. I'm not upset by that. But Fog City Wrestling, fogcitywrestling.com. They had a show just this past weekend. We'll have another one on May 2nd out on the West Coast. You're a part of that show this weekend, and you can view, everybody listening, you can view that show live online or actually in the archives online at fogcitywrestling.com. Again, that's fogcitywrestling.com. And Hernandez, I think that's what's very good, at least from the people we've spoken to about working for TNA, is you still have those opportunities to go and work on the independent circuit and get into the grassroots efforts of the rise of professional wrestling across the country.
I mean, I love it. I mean, TNA, that's one of the best things about working for TNA is that we're obligated to be there maybe 5-6 times a month, and we're able to freelance, pretty much when we want to. And I mean, hooking up with Dom and Jerry and these guys over here in Fog City, get an opportunity to tag with one of my. I don't want to date him either, but one of my heroes when I was a young kid, Savio Vega, is pretty cool. So.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, and and that's kind of your choice too. If you don't want to, I mean, obviously, when you do something that you love, you want to do it as much as possible. But if you don't want to hit the road, if you want to spend time with your family, because of TNA's nice schedule, I mean, where you do all the work basically in one city and then maybe go hit a pay-per-view somewhere else, you got all that time in the month.
I'm definitely blessed being with the company. I mean, that's. If you want to work more, it's up to you. If not, here's the bare minimum you got to show up at.
Yeah.
Well, and that day will certainly come in TNA, whether it be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, where obviously with each passing year we see more on-road pay-per-view events, we see more house shows and things of that nature. But I think, again, it seems like a good opportunity right now to really be in mainstream professional wrestling and still not get burned out. And that's what a lot of people we talk to tell us about their days in the other organizations is you just get used, burned, and terminated. Then
definitely. So the good thing about it is I could practice some new throws and debut them on TV. Find a different way to throw somebody on their head. And,
yeah,
give y'all a new ooh and ah for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that Damon brings it up too. Do you think that's kind of why? I mean, TNA's roster right now, I'm not going to say it's swollen, but I mean you've got a lot of talent that may have just came over from say the E or up north in New York, whatever it is,
and including what we saw this Thursday on Impact.
Exactly.
Trevor Murdoch coming over, Amazing Red back.
Word on, I believe another talent might be around as
Bobby
well.
Lashley.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley. But do you think that's what really the guys that, I mean, think about like Book and think about, Kurt Angle. I mean, they came down. Do you think that it's a relief for them to be in, TNA? And do you see more guys making their way down to Orlando?
I mean, you never know, because I mean, the atmosphere is so much. From what I've never been WWE, I'm more of a lucha guy. I like lucha libre a lot better from Mexico.
Sure.
But the guys that do come down here, it's like a big deep breath stress relief. The atmosphere is a little bit more laid back. Your schedule is a lot lighter. It's you're only doing one show instead of like I think they have like 3 shows or 3 TV shows or something like that. And plus, the house show schedule is, especially if you're on the upper level, you can pick and choose the ones that you want to do.
Right.
I mean, once you get that seniority, it must be awesome.
And one thing we've talked about on this program, and we've had the opportunity to speak to many talents from TNA, yourself included, obviously, is the appreciation for the fans. That's something you don't see, obviously, in other wrestling organizations on a national scale. TNA doesn't act it. They believe it. They believe that the fans are the reason for their existence, and they appreciate
you said that line, we're now TNA Marks again. Even though we're Marks,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
Marks for wrestling.
Every other week,
let's just get
Hernandez,
it over, yeah.
the viewers and the listeners, depending on who we're talking to or what we're talking about, we become a mark for that week. Now, we'll readily admit who we're marks for, though, so whatever.
Well, Damien's a mark for the Backstreet Boys. I'm a mark for, Wisconsin women.
No, he's lying.
About the Wisconsin women.
Okay.
So that fan appreciation certainly goes a long way, and being at Bound for Glory last year in Chicago, where we were, and also, I was down at the Impact tapings just this past week, as you well know. It continues to be prevalent, and as long as TNA remains focused on their fans, I think that the sky continues to be the limit. Hernandez, we'd like to thank you so much for being with us here on 540 ESPN, and also coming up this week on the Pro Wrestling Report television show. Best of luck to you, and we will hope to talk to you again soon. Remember, fans, you can check out the latest match from Hernandez at fogcitywrestling.com. Again, that's fogcitywrestling.com. Next event from them is May 2nd out in San Francisco. Hernandez, thanks for tuning in, or thanks for being a part of the Pro Wrestling Report, rather. And we're going to be right back in just a few moments with more on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, 540 ESPN, and streaming live at pwrshow.com and ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're talking about WWE Backlash. We just got done talking to Supermax Hernandez. We've got much more, and a completely different interview that's going to be on the Pro Wrestling Report television edition this Friday night, 9 o'clock p.m., right after WWE SmackDown on Time Warner Cable, Channel 14, and Wednesday at pwrshow.com. Hernandez, Supermax, had a lot to say here tonight, and we appreciate him taking the time to be on the show. Remember,
our first Latino interview, I believe.
He's also the first Latino NWA Tag Champion. How that was possible after so many years, I was surprised when he told me that. Mm-hmm. But Hernandez, one of many stars coming to the Pro Wrestling Report over the course of the next few weeks. And we'll be telling you some more names in the next few minutes here on the show about some more people. And you'd be surprised by some of them who are going to be appearing on PWR TV over the course of the next few weeks. We are live, and you can join us on the phone lines, 276-ESPN, 276-3776. Or 1-800-990-ESPN. That's 1-800-990-3776. Meathead at pwrshow.com. In the forum, we had somebody who felt they knew what was going to happen at WWE Backlash tonight.
Well, I'm not going to put the user's name out there because it's not fair to him, but he posted up a bunch of Backlash spoilers about a day and a half ago. Here, I'm going to read them off here.
Spoilers are always fun to read after.
Yep. Ted DiBiase will pin Shane, thus giving Orton the belt and setting up a future face turn for Ted. Orton won the belt. Not that way, though. Cena will win at Backlash because Edge has taken some time off after Backlash. Punk will cash in Money in the Bank at Judgment Day or possibly Backlash.
Well, that's not entirely inaccurate because we haven't seen Judgment Day yet, which is going to be at the Allstate Arena in Chicago on
But I'll
May
put
17th.
on Backlash. Matt will beat Jeff. No surprise there because Jeff is quitting wrestling. Thank you. It only took a couple, but thank you. Christian will win. No, Christian won.
Come on. Christian's the new ECW champion. All right, you must not be part of the population back there in the booth.
That's okay. I had to dig around for the gimmick there. Sorry. And that's all we have. Oh, also, the final line. I don't know who will win the other two matches, but I would assume WWE will not bury CM Punk.
Let's go to the phone lines. We've got Elliot from New York City.
New York City.
Or New York.
Get a rope.
Elliot, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Elliot? Don't sound so happy.
Nah, it's because it's late. I'm laying down. That's why I'm listening to the show. That's why.
Okay. What's up?
Yeah. I've got a week's worth of wrestling down in my head, so I got some opinions.
Okay. Well, did you see WWE Backlash tonight?
Yeah, I watched it.
All right. Your thoughts on the pay-per-view overall? 3 new champions.
I'm glad about that because I was tired of seeing the same champions for the past few months, and I'm kind of happy about that. Shook things up. But I expected more out of the matches.
Okay.
Like,
Even Cena Edge?
Yeah, that. I really expected more. It was good. It was good. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, but I expected...
Were you expecting more or hoping for more? Because those are two different things.
I expected more because Cena, he can go. He can go in a hardcore match. I've seen him when he wrestled Umaga and other guys, and even the TLC match. He can do the brutal stuff with weapons. We know Edge can do it. I expected blood. I expected a lot more brutality in it. I know they're going for
the man got thrown through a searchlight. You want more?
No, I'm talking about build up to that. That actually I like. But building up to that, the steel step thing, it wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. And the Hardy, the Hardy thing, it's an I Quit match. JBL and John Cena, great I Quit match. Ric Flair McFoley, great I Quit match. When Ray...
when Foley never quit.
Yeah, it was like...
Well, that was
when
Foley
Foley
the Rock.
The most vile chair shots I've ever seen happen to one man in one match ever.
Yeah, because Foley never quit because of the recording.
What was it? Royal Rumble? They did
99. It was Rumble, yeah.
I think so, yeah. But yeah, it's an I Quit
Matter of
match.
fact, Elliot, that we were just talking about that off air. That was the one where the lights went out in that side of the arena after Foley got thrown into it,
and they kept him on.
Oh, yeah. and he got thrown into the power
transformer of some sort.
Yeah, that was that. I kind of liked. I liked how they did that. It wasn't too cheesy, but it made you believe. I think it was. It really happened.
Okay.
That's beside the point. But yeah, tying the guy to a table and swan tying him. Leg dropping him wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough. I guess they tried to have a wrestling match, but it wasn't enough for me. And I don't know.
Did you watch TNA Lockdown last weekend?
Yeah, another thing. WWE popped out 2 pay-per-views in 1 month compared to TNA popping out 1 pay-per-view a month, and TNA beat both of them, in my opinion.
Do you feel Lockdown was better than not only Backlash but WrestleMania as well?
Yes, and I tell you why. How many matches was on WrestleMania?
8, I believe.
8,
that was a 3-hour, 45-minute show.
8, 9.
Yeah.
Give or take. There were only
5 matches tonight.
There were only like 3. I say that were good.
Okay.
3. Lockdown. How many were on there? 8. Same amount, right?
Roughly.
6 to 7 were good.
No, valid point.
And then that really would answer your question already that we're going to give you is, was it worth the money to get Lockdown versus getting Backlash?
Yeah. And I think...
Do you pay for them, or are you one of those people?
I paid for both of them.
My man.
I didn't pay for Backlash tonight, but I paid for both for WrestleMania and Lockdown.
Okay.
And it brings back the point that McFoley said leading up to Lockdown, no one's talking about the other pay-per-view in April no more. They're talking about Lockdown. And
well, here's the challenge we're up against. This world is full of E-marks, and TNA fans are very passionate. I think that the fact that John Cena was thrown through a searchlight to end the pay-per-view is going to be the buzz and going to be just enough.
You got to have that next day.
Oh, exactly. And that's where WWE is smart, as we said earlier. And they did the right thing to end it. But, I think a lot of people – now, keep in mind, you got leagues more people watching WWE pay-per-view than TNA pay-per-view. So right there's an advantage. But, I think for most wrestling fans, most marks for wrestling, I think they would agree that TNA Lockdown was better. But you're going to hear 95 to 5% say that Backlash was better, I think.
But not to cut you off, I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. I do it all the time.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at it like this. After Bound for Glory, late October of last year, TNA went through a creative dry spell, if you will. It kind of lost original fans. It made them lose faith in the product for a few months. Yeah. Am I right? Am I right or not?
Yep.
And then they bounced back the last 2 months or so, and it brings you back, and it makes you look at it. Ratings are going up. It's bringing in new fans and returning old fans. Now, same way with WWE, beginning of what was it? June, towards June, not even June, July, around May, they had their dry spell, and their dry spell lasted all the way to now. if you look at it, because nothing has really been going on. The most exciting rivalry I've seen since WrestleMania, since 24 to 25 now, was Michaels, Jericho, and Triple H, Randy Orton, and then those closed on barely good turn, but like it wasn't. WWE is still on their dry spell compared to TNA being on their dry spell.
Right, and you're right. The Michaels-Jericho thing had a lot of legs, a lot more legs than we thought it was going to have.
Well, it grew more after losing some. It regenerated some legs because it dragged on for a while. Remember?
And you would think it was.
Like
a lot of people wanted it to last till WrestleMania, and it had the breath and the life in it to last till then.
Yeah, but we'll see what Sacrifice brings from TNA next month. But you know, all the signs indicate that TNA is doing a lot more future planning than they had in the past, and all the signs indicate that WWE is doing a lot less future planning than they did in the past.
Exactly. And
TNA has been very smart lately in announcing that pretty much they're going to focus on their 4 major pay-per-views a year: Lockdown, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, and one other which escapes me right now. But you see this stuff happening.
Wait, what? 4 major? It's Lockdown, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, and
right.
Like we just said. Yeah.
But you see the natural progression of these storylines. You see now Mick Foley working in with Jeff Jarrett. You see continuity, which is something we had faulted TNA for quite a bit. You see continuity across months and week to week.
I'm sorry, you apologize again. Sorry.
Again, I do it all the time. Don't apologize.
And you see what fans have been saying. Everyone in the main event mafia are egotistical. We said this from the beginning of the feud, and we never saw it, and now we're seeing it. Egos are, and lines are being blurred, and it's no longer frontline versus main event mafia. It's now this guy against this.
Well, the front line is basically a bunch of Halo soldiers, because if you look at the commercials from the next pay-per-view.
No, it was Gears of War, was it?
Gears of War, I'm sorry, not Halo, Gears of War, you're right.
And now you're seeing that it's going to be Joe and Taz getting into a program. You see Joe not trusting no one. He's going to have a lot of enemies. He's going to be he's going to go back, hopefully go back to that original.
Joe's going to kill you guy?
Yeah, except for the Arnie Anderson sweatpants. But, it's really getting better,
Yeah.
And
I think the ratings and the buys are starting to increase as well. So
their 5th largest television audience last week did TNA.
And also, if you look at it, Hernandez and Homicide still hasn't cashed in their Feast of Fire because Hernandez still got his back. So you're still looking forward to when Hernandez got to cash in his Feast of Fire thing.
And Elliot, I did ask Hernandez that question specifically about the breakup of LAX and about him cashing in that chance at a championship. And that's going to air this week on PWR TV. He answered both those questions very candidly. So make sure you tune in.
Again, that's continuity right there. The fact that you're thinking it, the fact that Damien's thinking it, the fact that Supermax is going to answer that question on PWR TV.
It's obvious, an omen that something's coming up. Something's going to happen. Something's got to give, And, I think I was thinking about this for a build-up towards Bound for Glory. Why don't they have, what is it, the Rage in a Cage thing they have where people run out the cage or something? What is it called?
King of the Mountain.
No, not the King of the Mountain.
You're talking about that match where you had the ultimate I can't remember the name of it.
It's when they get a bunch of
Asylum.
Is that what it's called with all the X Division guys and you have to escape?
Yeah.
Yeah, Asylum. I don't know what it's really called. Yeah, that. Why don't they use that as?
I got a picture of it on my phone.
Why don't they use that as their Royal Rumble? At Hard Justice, and then you have those 2 months to build up. You get 10 guys, 5 main event and 5 mid card guys. Put them in that gauge, and they say whoever wins it in 2 months will be in the main event at Bound for Glory.
All very interesting points, Elliot. Very interesting discussion. Thank you so much for calling in, as we just are running short on time here. But lots of good discussion about Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. We're going to talk about Scott Steiner, specifically of the Main Event Mafia, later on in this program. We're going to take a timeout, and when we come back, we've got the news desk. We've got that in-depth look at Scott Steiner. We've got our VI3, Beat the Meat. So much more still left here on this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Holla if you hear me. Was that urban enough? Was that?
Do you remember the story where Scott Steiner went out and said the only reason Buff Bagwell sounds like he's cool is because Buff Bagwell watches BET? Steiner
This is
put
the
that
Pro
out.
Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We're live Monday night, April 26th, talking about WWE Backlash, and just got done talking to TNA's Hernandez of LAX. If you're listening to us on iTunes, or if you'd like to find us on iTunes, download the podcast. Search for Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio. Again, that's Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio in the podcast section of iTunes, and download it. Take us with you, on Tuesday mornings on your iPod.
Am I in your bubble bath? Are you taking a bubble bath listening to me talk to you right now? What's with the rubber ducky?
You're the one.
Rubber ducky.
Let's go to the PWR News Desk. Jay Lethal has signed a new multi-year deal with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling as the Black Machismo. Brooke Knows Best returns to VH1 this spring, in case you were wondering.
Or cared.
Tampa, Florida is bidding to host WrestleMania sometime between 2011 and 2014. Phoenix, Arizona hosts WrestleMania 26 next year. And the WrestleMania event is coveted as it could generate up to $50 million for any city that hosts it and almost 20,000 hotel room nights. Big money and an economy where...
Is it really a hosting thing? Is it really a bidding thing?
It is now. What WWE is looking for in these situations is what will the city do for them? Remember how much Orlando did for the city.
Correct.
So much press, so much media coverage,
Correct.
so much from the convention of the Tourism and Tourism Bureau, and they want the city to participate. They also have a good message to say, much like Super Bowls, World Cups, which also is being bid for by Tampa. WrestleMania is a big event, and they generate a lot of money for these cities, so why not have the city invest some effort into hosting
that? And also, they're talking about Chicago bidding for the Olympics, and, you got Oprah and Barack talking about, bringing the Olympics to Chicago. I guess, they can handle it because, a city like Milwaukee, as much as I would love to have WrestleMania here in Milwaukee, there was talk back in 2001 of Miller Park possibly hosting WrestleMania, opening up the stadium with WrestleMania. I don't think you can do it. You can't do it in a city in Milwaukee. We found out here, and, us being a sports station, Tillman, our producer, can agree, in 2002 when we had the All-Star game here, the overwhelming consensus from everybody that came to cover the game was there was no hotel rooms in the area.
Oh, but keep in mind, too, that was before Midwest Express Center opened. And
it wasn't.
Well, it was right after it opened, and they've added thousands of hotel rooms to the city.
Not enough. Because the Midwest Center was open already. They had a fan fest right on that street.
Yeah, but the hotel's waiting. We don't have to argue about that. We can look it up. But
what I'm saying is
more available now.
Yeah, there still wasn't enough hotel rooms. And Milwaukee, as much as I want it to be a big league city and have all these, nice events, I don't know if the, national events or international events can happen in Milwaukee.
Well, the secret a lot of people don't know is if the Olympics do come to Chicago in 2016, many events will happen here in Milwaukee.
Correct.
That's part of the bid. Continuing on the PWR News Desk, Ring of Honor Take No Prisoners pay-per-view will debut on June 12th. Christy Hemme, Meathead, has released a new album. It was released last week.
When you said her name, I released too.
It's entitled Where Are You? It's going to be available. It is rather available online. She is currently out of TNA, the Knockouts division, with a neck injury. Kaz is now expected to, that's Frankie Kazarian, is expected to return to TNA next month, where he will again become and be the Suicide character, the current X Division champion. When 12 Rounds is released on DVD, it will have several alternate endings. And
will any of them be good?
Seen it? You haven't seen it, right?
Will any of them be good?
You haven't seen it. I saw the movie. I thought it was a good movie.
Okay.
Ring of Honor returns to Chicago Ridge on June 27th, but big news out of that is Ric Flair scheduled to appear at that show in Chicago Ridge on June 27th for Ring of Honor. This week's ratings, WWE Raw, not tonight, but last week, got a 3.7 rating. SmackDown with a 2.0. TNA Impact with a 1.23, which equals about 1.8 million viewers on Spike TV. And as I said before, the fifth highest rating for that show in its history. ECW less than Impact, but not by much, at a 1.22. And WWE Superstars with a 0.88, which is essentially statistically similar to its 0.90 rating from the week before.
But also, we've talked about this. WWE Superstars was that placed where it was placed to steal the wrestling fans from TNA.
No, if anything, it'll help TNA because it's lead-in. You know, and that's what a lot of the networks do is they put strong shows
I know how
in as lead-ins for some of their weaker shows, but they're on the same channel.
I've watched NBC for many years.
We've got 3 hours of wrestling now on Thursday nights, and it's quite a bit. And we're back to 4 nights a week of wrestling, by the way, which is, I don't think, a problem. 5 nights on pay-per-view week. But I think Superstars does what it needs to do, as we talked about last week on the program. For the fan, I think it does in WWE. It really is a different show because they do distinguish the 3 brands better on that show than even the individually branded shows. And you feel like you're getting something special, and they continue the storylines from the Raw and SmackDown specifically
I don't know
on
about
Superstars.
That. I don't know about that. You know, I watched Superstars, and again, I kind of did the through it because WWE, they can't try to force this distinctly different brands crap down my throat anymore when the sets don't even look different anymore.
Wow.
It's the exact same set, different colors, LED lights.
For some, that might be enough. Panda in the Chatmosphere corrected me 5 days correct. A Ring of Honor on HD Net, which is not available to everyone, but available to enough. A lot of wrestling. And this is back in the glory days. So, back when we had ECW on TNN, WCW, Nitro and Thunder, and WWE Raw, and
then
SmackDown.
Sunday Night Heat.
Saturday night, Shotgun Saturday night, rather. Live Wire on Saturday morning. Superstars still syndicated.
Raw AM, Raw Espanol.
Yeah. Let's talk about last week's TV, though. ECW featured a match between John Morrison and Evan Bourne, which has been getting a lot of talk on the forum at pwrshow.com and all over the wrestling universe. A good match between those two. Obviously, John Morrison, we've talked about how good he's gotten over the last year or so, and Evan Bourne, certainly airborne, what they call him, certainly can deliver a good match from those two on ECW. TNA Impact, I was privileged enough to be at the taping last week and to watch the broadcast. That show really did what it needed to do, which was clean up after lockdown and set you on your way to Sacrifice, and that is what it did. Now, the best part of that episode, two great things. It was the beautiful people, who I am now an absolute 138% mark for.
Are you a bigger mark for the beautiful people? Wait. What did they call themselves again? I Love Pie?
My Pie Sexy.
My Pie Sexy.
Which
okay.
And they don't ever go further into it than that, and that's what's great about it. Pie Sexy.
Because
I'm not sure half the fans know how good that is.
I don't think they do, but yes, it is. All 3 of them, by the way. Do you mark more for the girls, or do you mark more for the boys? And I mean the back street, if you will.
Absolutely, the beautiful people. You continue to perpetuate this rumor based off of a non-fact about a poster you allege you saw.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
You allege you saw it.
I saw it.
Where's the proof?
It's right in my mind. It's also right next to a Sugar Shane Helms poster.
The beautiful
for the breaker.
And a 3-count poster, actually. No, you had the 3-count poster.
No.
Fine, I'm going to start lying about you on this show.
I don't lie about
me. The beautiful people, I don't know if you could appreciate how good they are. I had the opportunity to see some stuff while I was down at Impact that didn't quite necessarily make air. I don't know if anyone could appreciate how good they are. And their characters on TV, great. I mean, absolutely great. And here's the other part that you usually don't get, especially from divas. They bring it in the ring. They bring it in the ring, especially Angelina Love, who I'm impressed by more and more when she steps in that ring.
Yeah, but, the girls, especially Angelina Love, I don't know how much of that is actually character or is she really living the life?
It's character.
Okay.
But perfectly executed character. But anyway, that promo was good. They cut that part. They cut that substantially short, though, with the dancing guys.
So you were marking for the dancing guys?
Absolutely not. They cut that short, and thank God they did, because that was painful to watch live. But the other big piece that night was the pogo stick spot. They do it's the Foley Smack Talk match, whatever it is, and Scott Steiner's jumping up on the pogo stick, and out comes Jeff Jarrett from the floor, and he clotheslines Steiner off the pogo stick. I laughed for 5 minutes. 5 minutes on that spot. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure the highlights are at TNAWrestling.com, or if you recorded Impact last week, check it out. But that leads us to our next topic, which we're going to get into when we get back, which is going in depth about Scott Steiner. Much like I came to a moment of realization last week as it pertains to Matt Morgan and the Backstreet Boys, I have come to a moment of realization as it pertains to Scott Steiner. This is the Pro Wrestling Report folks. On 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
First on your radio, first for sports. We are 540 ESPN.
Two-decade-long friendship, and I know to hit her on the street side.
I'll tell you what was obvious to me, though, was
Steiner on a pogo stick.
The jealousy that Jeff had and felt seeing that belt over your shoulder, knowing he had to give you that. I mean, think about that.
Let's just call Scotty Steiner Mr. Pogo. Oh!
I've never said this before either, but he just got clotheslined right off of the pogo stick.
And today hit it perfectly. That's a great spot. And you can find that video at PWRshow.com as well. Scott Steiner on a pogo stick. But Meathead, just what we were talking about before we took that break here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. And you're sitting here just giddy about it. It's funny, and you got to admit it. Scott Steiner. We said a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the 5 people TNA should release, and the person that made everybody's list,
Number 1 on both of our lists,
was Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. Now, hear this.
Do you have any kind of music, by the way, before you start? Any kind of bed that you can lay down in Tillman for Damian getting up on a soapbox? And
I'm not getting on a soapbox. I'm just going to share.
Anything that we can kind of just lay underneath this? He's
gonna...
working on it. What's going to happen
here? And you
here?
best not play any boy band group.
No. Hold on. Damian Nelson is about to... He's about to go into a little diatribe, a little bit of a speech.
No. And, you're predicting that I've got.
But anyways, Damian Nelson speak on Scott Steiner.
I said a couple of weeks ago that Scott Steiner should be released. At the time, I stand by my statement made at the time. However, I got to say, Scott Steiner has been bringing it. Last few weeks of Impact leading up to lockdown, at lockdown, this past week on Impact as well, he has heard the fans say, you still suck, and you suck overall, and he has over-delivered. Steiner recliners, Frankensteiners, getting clotheslined off a pogo stick. That match him and Jeff Jarrett had, that hardcore match on Impact last week, was great. I mean, it was better than I thought it would be. I saw it live. I saw it on TV. It was good in both respects. Am I a TNA Mark yet? The PWR Chatmosphere, PWRshow.com?
You've been a TNA Mark. I believe, in the Chat-osphere.
I want them to tell me what kind of Mark I am because I can't figure that out on my own. Anyways, be that as it may, Scott Steiner, an asset to TNA. An asset to TNA, a man who has stepped up his game, a man who is working with many injuries, and a man who... Hell, I got a lot of respect for all of a sudden. And keep in mind, Meathead, you know, we've been on for almost 11 years. I have never, ever been a Steiner fan.
Never, ever. Not Rick, not Scott, not Frank, and not Al Steiner, not Steinbrenner.
That's all I got to say. I mean, I'm interested to hear what the fans have to say out in either the PWR Chatmosphere or at the PWRshow.com or on the phone lines. You can call us and be a part of this program. The number 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or 1-800-990-ESPN. That's 1-800-990-ESPN. Scott Steiner, Matt Morgan, what the hell's happened to me?
You're a Backstreet Boy, Mark. It says it right here in the Chatmosphere. I'm reading it as we speak.
One-Man Dynasty and the PWR Chatmosphere, if you would read the relevant things that are being said. He says Steiner is ratings, like I have said about 5 times already. Panda says Steiner plus Mike equals win. Steiner over 40 years old at this point in his career in TNA. Some said washed up. Apparently, much like all the love for Mike Knox, people have love for Scott Steiner out there.
Don't get us started on the Mike Knox beard thing because, you know, that will just destroy the Chatmosphere and it'll be on. I'm sorry, we're watching Tim and Eric also.
No,
in the
you
studio,
are, and you should be
and
concentrating
this,
for this worldwide broadcast.
For anybody that has seen Tim and Eric on Adult Swim, it is disturbing.
Scott Steiner, Meathead, your thoughts? Now. Today. As we sit now, and you just heard, and you just saw the pogo stick spot. Your thoughts?
He's still got a job. And you know what? Scott Steiner's beard is growing, too. Maybe it's a Mike Knox thing, even though he dyes his beard. So,
Is he an asset to TNA? Because you
Currently?
also said he should be released a
Currently?
couple weeks ago.
Currently, right now, he
Currently,
is
right
making
now,
TV.
what currently is.
He is making TV entertaining. Today.
You know, and this is a prime example of what stars can do when they want to do it. Now, he could be sitting there collecting a paycheck and being lazy. Certainly. But, and I don't think he was ever at that point, by the way, so don't get me wrong. But he's not, and he's stepping up, and he is throwing it and shoving it in the face of the fans.
I will throw this out there. When Black Snow and whatever Kevin Nash's gimmick was, when Scott Steiner did color commentary for a match, he was phenomenal.
Well, fans, we'd be interested to hear what you have to say about Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. The email is comments@pwrshow.com. Go ahead and send them over to us. Speaking of pwrshow.com, we've got PWR TV coming up this Wednesday with Hernandez, one half of LAX, and a completely separate interview from the one you heard tonight here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. But we've got more big stars, Meathead, coming to the Pro Wrestling Report over the next couple of weeks, including, here we go, Christopher Daniels makes his return to the Pro Wrestling Report. He has a lot of things to say about his return.
He's not working
to
backstage
TNA
anymore like he told us in the last interview.
Exactly. A lot of very interesting things to say about TNA, its growth, its recent growth, and its future plans. All hail King Booker. Booker T.
Respect.
Booker T returns to the Pro Wrestling Report. Actually, this is Booker's first time on PWR TV. And another very interesting interview about his time in World Wrestling Entertainment, his time in TNA, and why he still does it. And finally, the Monster Abyss. It's going to be here on this program, the Pro Wrestling Report.
Lots of mention
on
of
TV.
Dr. Stevie.
We talked about a lot, did Abyss and I, actually, and we talked about hardcore wrestling in TNA. We talked about all kinds of things, and those are all interviews you could only see on this program. PWR TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 here in Milwaukee, Friday nights after WWE SmackDown, or all over the website at pwrshow.com. PWRshow.com on Wednesdays. So big names, again, you add that on top of Kevin Nash, Sonny, King Kong Bundy. Sorry, we weren't able to find, still haven't found Kamala. I don't think it was supposed to be on last week, but be that as it may, Hernandez tonight, Booker T on the radio show a couple of weeks back as well. So many big stars, Austin Aries. I'm not tooting our own horn, but really, these stars come out to the Pro Wrestling Report. And you know what? I'm going to shoot here for a minute. Can I shoot?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Call the hotline, 1-900-909-9900. No, it's not really a shoot, but we get a lot of heat, actually. Not a lot of heat, but some people say, why do we do these softball interviews? We go, you know what? Because we respect the relationships we have.
And I don't think our interviews are that softball. I mean, what did we ask questions of? We asked Booker a couple questions. Tess had just passed away. We talked to Booker about what was going on.
Well, here's what people want to hear.
Very clear.
Here's what they want to hear from the TNA talent. When are you going to WWE? Why are you not in WWE? Well, no. I mean, we can go that route. We can be like some of these other shows out there and go that route and try to shock people and say, look what we got, blah, 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 blah. But we respect the relationships that we have with the organizations that we do have, and we respect the opportunity to bring you, the fans, candid discussion with a lot of the superstars that are out there. We're going to continue to do that as we did tonight with Hernandez, and that will allow us to continue to do so with additional superstars for you. So Meathead, that coming up over the next few weeks here on the Pro Wrestling Report. And you never know who's stopping by the radio show, to be honest with you.
It just happens when it happens, brother.
Sometimes the day of. Let's throw out a couple of plugs and reminders. Remember, you can check out the show, the Pro Wrestling Report, on this here radio station, 540 ESPN, at MilwaukeeWrestling.com. Download the podcast there. We talked about it earlier. If you want to listen to us on iTunes, go ahead and search for the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio. Again, Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio. You may need to refresh if you were previously subscribed, as that is the new name of the show on iTunes. Also, GLCW, Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. The DVDs are shipping now of the March 21st show.
2 words, too sweet.
2 words, too sweet. And you can see highlights of that on BlizzardBrawl.com and order it as well. You could also purchase tickets for the big event on on June 12th, featuring Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash. Again, that's at BlizzardBrawl.com. And the WWE Backlash video wrap-up will be available on our site and on YouTube tomorrow morning. So all kinds of content coming from the Pro Wrestling Report. We're going to take our final time out of the evening. And when we return, we've got the VI3 and Beat the Meat here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN as you listen to the music of the new WWE Champion as of Backlash tonight, Randy Orton. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, here live, April 26, 2009. Not able to get enough of Scott Steiner on a pogo stick. Let me just tell you that.
We're sitting here during break replaying the whole thing over and over.
You know who would love it most if he were here this week is Frank. Frank would be dying.
Yeah.
It's just like we have to put this back up on the site too. A lot of people have heard it because it's out there all over the web. But the our
is that on the phone?
Our inspiration for a number of years by Casey Kasem when he blew up. That's now on the site. A couple versions at the interview section of PWRshow.com.
It's not on the phone. I got to go into a song about a dog dying. Classic Casey Kasem.
Next week, in depth, Bobby Lashley, Meathead. We're going to talk about Bobby Lashley. Ooh. Especially now in TNA as a professional wrestler.
Entrance video.
It's a bit much of the motorcycle thing. I guess he's a biker.
I don't know. Let's
go to the VI3. Each week we pick the top 3 names in this business that is professional wrestling. 1 male, 1 female, and 1 tag team. And we always start with the one man who is least prepared. And his name is Meathead.
I'm the man they call Meathead, and I'm still digging stuff up on the internet, so that's how I stall when I give you my VI3. My single goes out to Mr. Pogo Stick, Scott Steiner, because you know what? That is some funny stuff right there. Mr. Pogo Stick, Scott Steiner, the first time ever in the 11-plus year history of the Pro Wrestling Report, Big Papa Pump is in any of my top anythings. He may have just won some fans. He may have just won some fans.
You got to check out the version with the music, too, the alternate version or the edited version at PWRshow.com. I'm sorry, if we're marked for anything, we're marked for this Pogo Stick spot this week.
Yep. All right, so that's my single, Mr. Pogo Stick. Also, my tag team.
Mr. Pogo Stick.
Stop. My tag team goes out to My Pie Sexy.
Fine.
My Pie Sexy. My Pie Sexy.
Fine.
Because only 2 of them wrestle, so. Otherwise known as the Beautiful People.
And
my female will go out to Kong, who apparently is a face now. Missing some of her hair.
We'll go with that. She's a tweener.
Missing some of her hair.
Tweener.
Yeah. Missing some of her hair, but she's a face. There you go.
She's got to get her hair did again.
Yeah. She needs to go down to 3rd and King.
The definitive VI3, ladies and gentlemen, the one all of you tuned in to listen to tonight, comes from me. And my single spot goes to John Cena. I just got to give the man props for his performance tonight at WWE Backlash. I thought he did a great job in that matchup, even though he lost the title. The female spot goes to the leader of My Pie Sexy, Angelina Love. And the tag team spot goes to a man who makes up 1/2 of it, who was on this program earlier tonight, Hernandez, LAX, who will be featured, I believe, on next week's Impact as well. That is the VI3. This week in history, Meathead. It was yesterday, 10 years ago, that David Arquette became the WCW champion. And for those of you who may not remember, WCW is a defunct wrestling organization purchased by World Wrestling Entertainment in 2001. Let's go to Beat the Meat.
Giggity beat the meat. I've got it. Can you hand it to me, please?
Oh, I did. Good luck finding it, because I never wrote it down.
Email all the answers to trivia at PWRshow.com. Winner to be announced next week. All right? Email all.
Now we need a question. That's what that blank
I have a
is.
question.
Oh, great.
I got a question. I am prepared, jackass. Email all the answers to trivia at PWRshow.com. Who was the Ringmaster's opponent at WrestleMania 12? It was mentioned. His name was mentioned.
My first
in
WrestleMania.
His name was mentioned in this very program tonight. Who was the Ringmaster's opponent at WrestleMania 12? Once
We're
again,
actually going to have those two comments at PWRshow.com.
Email those
I don't
answers
think the web
to
team
comments.
has the trivia site up yet.
Email those answers to comments at PWRshow.com. Winner will be announced next week.
Right here on this very program. Do I say that or did Tony Schiavone say that?
Tony Schiavone. Tony
I stole
Nelson.
that from Schiavone?
Damian Schiavone.
Don't you ever. My hands aren't on my face, and we're live on the air. If my hand were on my face and I were dozing off,
I've watched
you
you do
call
play-by-play. You have done
Schiavone. I got a lot going on. I got a lot going on in this head. I got a lot to think about and such.
Backstreet Boy reunion tour.
We've got an email from. I did not go to that. By the way, you. I hate you. We've got an email from Brett Jackson, Meathead, and he says this. It seems like, and I quote, it seems like we want major superstars to turn heel like John Cena, Triple H, CM Punk, and Vince or Shane McMahon. My question is, why do we want more heels, and how would the new heels fit into the storyline with Edge, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, and my favorite, Santino Marella? I guess basically to summarize, thank you, Brett Jackson, for that question, Meathead. To summarize is, a lot of rumors about the names of like Batista and Shane McMahon potentially turning heel, which we talked about briefly earlier, but who would they feud with if they were to do so? Or I'm sorry, who would they go into a storyline with if they were to turn heel, or would they be on their own? Let's say Batista, for instance, if the rumors are true, if he does go heel.
I don't think he will, and it's because wrestling fans want what's not happening right now. Wrestling fans want something different than what they're being given right at the moment. They want it to always change. That's what they want from wrestling. They want continuous turmoil, if you will. I don't think Batista's going to turn heel, and if he does, I don't know who he's going to feud with. I really don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens over the course of the next few weeks. Fans, we are on a special night tonight, Sunday, April 26th, so if you're looking for the show on Monday, sign up for PWR Mobile. You would have known. Also, check the website, and you would have known as well. We're going to be back on next Monday night. Baseball season is off and running, so always check the site, pwrshow.com, to find out when we are going to be on. Our goal is to be on Monday nights right after Raw as best we can, or following pay-per-views to give you guys the opportunity to call in and be a part of the program. Remember, we are very interactive. We accept your phone calls here live on air, and you can also join us at the PWR Chatmosphere at pwrshow.com, including in the PWR forum. Meathead, did we have any comments about the pogo stick in the forum? I thought you were checking on that, but of course you probably did.
I'm watching.
The pogo stick spot on the forum, which would have happened a couple days ago, so if you're waiting for something new to pop up, since it happened Thursday night on Impact.
Oh, no, I'm watching the Chatosphere. Hey, I got a lot of things going on over here. I got things going on in my head.
Will you
multitasking.
Stop? Will you stop? We want to thank TNA Wrestling for their hospitality. As I was down in Orlando this past week, always very good to the Pro Wrestling Report. And also want to thank Hernandez for coming on this week. Remember, Fog City Wrestling. Go to fogcitywrestling.com to stream their latest shows and also the live show coming up on May the 2nd. So special thanks to our guest Hernandez. And don't forget, Wednesday at pwrshow.com and Friday after SmackDown on TV Channel 14, Hernandez will be joining us with another interview on the Pro Wrestling Report. And then stars coming up over the next few weeks, Booker T, Abyss, and Daniels. And you never know what else we got up our sleeves exclusively here on the Pro Wrestling Report. Well, here on 540 ESPN. Frank is going to be back with us next week, we think. David Hero is going to join us next week as well. But in the meantime and in between time, we want you guys to hop on over to pwrshow.com. Correspond with us. Send us those emails, your questions like Brett Jackson did this past week. And also check out the WWE Backlash video wrap-up, which is going to be available on the website tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. So, for the man they call Meathead, and for Frank Costantino, the Cos, and Dave Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you, Tillman, for working the booth today, and thank you all for tuning in here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.